So tomorrow we will open Clown's Kingdom, which is a show about the artist as a prankster in Danish avant-garde history. Both Danish and French culture loves the figure of the enfant terrible.
Yeah, I think French and Danish have some affinities for a certain sense of provocation.
So the title of the show is Clown Kingdom, and because we think that every society needs a clown in order to break the social order.
We expect a little bit of reaction. Everyone needs a little bit of art scandals sometimes.
I feel really excited, of course, always a bit stressed, but very excited to show this group show to a French audience, for them to discover our vision of Denmark and the conversation with friends, but also very much about how the Danish artists will receive the vision that we have of them and of their country. If we think of the Situationist shooting stand, it was a strong anti-militarist piece back in the 60s, 1963, when Denmark was joining NATO. And I think it finds a strong resonance with the current political context.
I think the proposal from Charles and Pierre, it was very interesting because it was definitely a contemporary art show, but a show that wasn't ignorant of the past. And then you had a very good sense of this French-Danish axis and identified it in many different areas.
From our perspective, Denmark is really, everything works, everything is clean, etc. Obviously, it's like too cliché, and we thought that, Denmark is maybe producing its own poison.
Maybe you could say that maybe French culture is more lively, whereas its art is more cool. And in Denmark, the culture is cool and clean, whereas its art is more lively.
Yeah, absolutely. Why is there, for example, so much obsession in Denmark for playground?
Yeah, and in Paris you could not even find the children. I think that we need the opposite. Art is a sort of antidote maybe to our culture.
Piece, Laughing Gas House for Kids, is a piece from 1998, so it's really old, and it's a kind of a plastic house, and then it's connected to a big gas bottle with nitrous oxide, laughing gas, where you can open the valve and then you can sort of induce gas into the house, so the kids can have a sort of a little bit of a high, But of course, it also has kind of a more cruel connotation in a way, as a kind of a gas champ.
As a system who force you to happiness.
Yeah.
We literally force you to happiness.
Yes.
In a really
Yes.
literal way.
Yes. Yes. This transgression, I think, has always been sort of important in my work, and it still is. And I think I always liked transgressive art from Salvador Dali or Georges Bataille or Michel Foucault, or writers and artists that kind of like to sort of go beyond borders.
You will also present in Clown Kingdom Marotte.
Yes.
A new work.
Yes. And that's just about to be finished, actually. But it's Marotte is the stick that you have, the jester. And I always like the jester figure sort of very much as some figure that actually are allowed, even in more very critical situations, to generate some stir or come up with jokes or satire And I think that's very appropriate in these times, you know, especially now, you know, when you have like a war coming up, you know, with Russia, you know, with Putin and so on. But in sort of, at least older times, you would, the king or the ruler, especially these kind of ultimate rulers, would always have a jester to make fun of them. And you also have the artist as a kind of a jester in a way in society.
The jester also is a really ambiguous political figure because it kind of criticizes the people in place, but also it's a kind of catharsis. Yes. It helps them remain at the place of power.
Yeah.
I'm really in a good mood because today we have the International Women's Day, and it's the 8th of March, and I'm really aggressive. These are bombs. And my idea is to throw rotten eggs against bombs. Women shall not shoot. But now you shall make the exhibition in the Danish house.
Yeah, it was a Danish embassy, yes.
I would like to come there because it's rather crazy, I understand.
And Ursula, the theme of the exhibition is how the idiots or the fool can provoke or make a statement for society. How do you relate to the theme being like you have a hat now that looks like a king's or a fool's hat?
I told you before, I had a lot of shirts and I took all those on. I wanted to have a lot of layers, different shirts and women, and I found this is my grandmother's. I represent today a lot of women, so I'm so happy that we have this day, the 8th of March. I have not made pictures since nearly half a year ago. Oh yeah, okay, I made some. And I could not at all take a pencil, nothing. I couldn't. But just now, it can be because there is a mission. Now here with Ukraine, what there happens, and suddenly I get the feeling back. I have to react. I have to do something.
I understand. You expected a reaction or a point for you, and when like Three Girls, One Pig was released, which kind of reaction it has created in the Danish society? Three Girls, One Pig.
At that time,
yeah,
it was no reaction. Yes, I wrote, and it was the worst and terrible and blah blah and so on and so on.
But there is dark humor in it, right? There
What?
is dark humor in it?
No.
No, not dark humor?
No.
Okay.
It's no humor. It was really serious. I mean, it was in 1971, really a feministic film. I mean, when we castrate the pig and throw this testicle to the cat who doesn't want to eat this. This is a really feministic film. But it's 50 years ago.
Clown's Kingdom is about the jester.
Clown Kingdom is not a transgressive show, it's about transgression. So Esben, who or what is a Julian Luxford? Your alter ego, a joker, a malicious kid?
Yeah, I mean, it started as a filter on Instagram, like a face filter that I animated for that platform, and then it became this figure that kind of like went both in like jewelry, sculpture, merchandise. So it's kind of a self-portrait in a way, but it's also a floating signifier, like an empty signifier.
One of the things that I saw about Julian was projection of social fantasy, economic fantasy. I mean, everybody is projecting something on him, but he has no personality, no identity. And in a way, I thought that it could be a comment on like celebrity culture. I mean, we are at the Guinness World Record Museum, and but celebrity culture at the age of social media, where we have some celebrities who have no talent whatsoever. They are just celebrities, like empty celebrities that, like Julian, we can project on them like all our social fantasy.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a reflection of that, and then it's also a way of working for me with sculpture, but in a performative way, because I'm still writing the history of Julian Luxford. It's not done yet. I mean, like last year I introduced him, I branded him. It's still like in the process of figuring out like who is Julian Luxford and where does he end. But of course, like in the beginning of the project and the whole branding period of it, it was a lot about like celebrity culture and what can we do with a branded image, like what is the potential of the branded image also in relation to activism and politics. I've been DJing since I was 16 at nightclubs, and I mean that's what I see, that's what I come from. It is the light, it's the glitter floors, it's like all these kind of materials. So it's also what's easiest for me to work in is these kind of like medias and materials.
This character is always also a little bit threatening.
Yeah?
Yeah. He's not completely neutral.
Well, we did like a cast of my face and then modeled like these structures up, like kind of made them more extreme. But there was a lot about like trying to go with some things that we already know from pop culture, like the Kardashian lips, like these kind of things, and then overdo them. And every time you overdo something, it kind of become like clownish, because it's a caricature in a way, right?
Yeah, because it's when narcissism makes you a buffoon, and if we had to think about like a new buffoon character nowadays, it would be like some celebrities. I mean, we could think of Kanye West, who obviously like embodies a hyper buffoon who is like very narcissistic.
So this whole attention time we're living in, the person who has the attention is also in the longest time it's the person who will own the most money. So it's also trying to understand and trying to also criticize, but from within, like trying to also see, like understand these mechanisms by doing them. And I think that's been like the core of the project somehow for me, to actually understand the performativity inside of medias and attention and an attention war we're living in.
Will you say The Idiot is the most anti-establishment movie realized by Lars von Trier?
Every film he makes, he kind of points out something that is fake or some level of hypocrisy, if it is in society or just in the way that we behave as human beings. But The Idiots is the one that points, I would say, most strongly at the Danish society of the films that he has made, where he kind of explores or displays the so-called Danish nature, which is supposed to be very tolerant, but then when you push the limits and you go maybe even over the limits, or uses transgression as a way to free yourself from social norms and expectations, then we are not so tolerant after all. So I would say, yeah, The Idiot, it is a comment on Danish society and Danish nature, yeah. Well, I think he's actually making a point about that we are all idiots. Some people are just better at showing it than others. and we shouldn't maybe be ashamed of being idiots from time to time, because there is a liberating potential in being totally out of your mind and acting out and eating cake in a weird way and having sex with random people. Like, there is a liberation in that. So you're kind of an idiot by proxy just by watching his films, and I really love that. And trying to keep up with my ideas of what is normal, but often he shakes those ideas, which is, I think, is a sign of a great artist. And I would say that he's also an example of part of Danish nature, if you're allowed to talk about something like that, which is anti-authoritarian strike that we have. In one way, we are very complacent and we follow all the rules. We always stop at a red light. We never cross a road if there's a red light. But then at the same time, we also have a tendency to enjoy breaking the rules. And maybe we just break the rules, maybe not in daily life, but then we do it in art. And that's why we enjoy it so much when Trier does it.
Clown Kingdom is about laughing when everything collapses around you.
Clown Kingdom is an exhibition about fools with fools for fools.
We feel very excited, very happy, and very exhausted as well.
Absolutely exhausted, absolutely excited, absolutely.
I really like the proposal. Then the curators, they weren't exactly faithful to the proposal, and then they actually managed to make a very interesting exhibition anyways. And still surprising as the proposal.
Very happy with the show here. I think it's kind of messy and at the same time sort of strange, and it's also in this kind of representational space that it really is for the country. Because normally I'm a little bit skeptical about these kind of, sort of national representations, or also because there's a lot of artists, both the young ones and the older ones than me. So it feels very different from other kind of exhibitions that are a bit similar to this that I've been represented in.
Yeah, I mean, this project has never been shown before in Paris, so I mean, I'm excited to see what will happen.
I guess I relate also in relation to some of the other artists in the show more with a more feministic approach to the prankster, or to the notion of being able to keep the prankster accountable.
Is there such a thing as a feministic prankster?
I haven't thought that through, but yes, I would say so.
Doing serious art might not be the same as taking yourself seriously. So kidding about yourself, making fun about your own practice, about your own serious, is definitely refreshing. And I guess that's one of the axes of the show.
Points out a kind of state of mind. You can say anything, but with a touch of humor.
Effectivement, on arrive dans un univers qu'on pense, comment on pourrait dire, l'univers des clowns, un peu drôle.
Donc c'est très ironique.
Iconoclasm and humor, possibly, in a theatrical way. But again, I'm saying that as a visitor. I didn't know anything about the show before coming in.
The journey has been dangerous, fulfilling, surprising, and now rewarding.